Hi everyone, you're watching the Christiana321. I am the Christiana, and we're trying a new location today because, you know what? Why not? I like to read a lot of professional development type books. You may have seen my videos on the Fred Factor or A World Without Email. One of the things that is great about those books is you get to see leadership and how to do well professionally from a lot of different perspectives. People who write those books come from all different backgrounds, tech backgrounds, entrepreneurs, but there are people who have, at least in their eyes, some level of success. A lot of them too will come from like business coaches or life coaches with the advice that they give to their people, or professional inspirational speakers, so you get to hear lots of different perspectives, and they've got stories from all the different people that they've talked to. And whenever you're getting a lot of diverse opinions, not all of them are going to jive for you. So it's really important when reading professional development books, or any kind of book really, but for the purpose of this video, to read it critically and don't just take everything because it's in a published work as gospel, because it's not. It's what that author or authors sometimes believes will help you to be more successful, but they don't know you. They don't know your work situation or where you are exactly in your career. So it's good to collect those different ideas and then think about them and apply them based on where you're at, right? So this has been on my mind a lot lately because I just finished 2 different professional development type books that didn't super jive with me. So the first one is an audiobook called The Art of Less Doing by Ari Meisel. Is that going to show up on the camera? And then the second one that I read that felt like I needed to take with a grain of salt really made me sad. So if you watch my video on the Fred Factor, you might remember that that's the first ever professional development book that I really read. It was for my first job while I was in high school. We read it as, our team read it together, and I loved it. And I thought that there were so many great things in there, and then I recently reread it so that I could make the video. And then when, I guess the algorithm somewhere found out that I was reading it again, and so suggested to me another book by Mark Sanborn. Mark Sanborn wrote The Fred Factor. This one's called You Don't Need a Title to Be a Leader. Which, true, you don't. I agree with the overall concept and with a lot of things in the book, but not everything, and that's what we're going to talk about. So, first, The Art of Less Doing. I'll admit, part of the reason that I picked this particular book is because it was short. It's an audiobook, and I think it was only about 3 hours long. So I don't know what I was really expecting getting into it. But basically, it is a bunch of 1,000-word blogs on productivity hacks squished together into a book. You could also think of it as, if you ever read The 4-Hour Workweek, squished together. You got The Art of Less Doing. And the other thing that kind of gets me about both The 4-Hour Workweek and The Art of Less Doing is it emphasizes how spending less time on your job is better. And I don't agree with that as a concept. Throughout the book, the author gives a lot of tips on how to be more efficient or outsource some of your daily tasks to a virtual assistant or to automate it using computer programming. All of that's great. But It was with the underlying idea that you hate your job and that if you do your job less and automate it more, you'll get the dollar bills, y'all, but you won't have to spend as much time doing it. And honestly, like, I enjoy what I do. So while, yes, some of it, emails, I would love to outsource and do less of, there's also a lot of it that, in general, I'm not going to use the time that I save from, like, automating my emails or whatever to, like, spend fewer hours at work. I'm going to spend those hours at work doing other work things that I enjoy doing. Whether that's mentoring, whether that's setting up other processes for my team to be successful, whether that's creating new metrics and analyzing the work that we've done over the last year. I truly love doing those things, so I'm not going to outsource them just so that I can do less things. Got a lot of great tips, but there wasn't anything super new, especially since I have read the 4-Hour Work Week. You got things like the Pomodoro technique, things like, he did have a lot of different technologies and different websites that you can use to automate some of your different stuff that I hadn't heard of before, so check it out for that. If you're looking for more automation. In general, it was nothing new as far as like the concepts and the kind of like, oh, build habits. How do you build a habit? You build them on top of each other. But if you haven't read the 4-Hour Work Week and you want to, but you don't have the time because you aren't at a 4-Hour Work Week yet, The Art of Less Doing might be a good book for you. It just wasn't for me. So then, you don't need a title to be a leader. Great concept. You don't need a title to be a leader. You can be a leader starting right now. You just need to master these 6 principles that he lays out. And they're things about acting with intention, self-mastery. You can't lead others until you can lead yourself. Getting better at communication, getting better at executing plans, and being a servant leader. Mastering the principle of giving back, or returning your good fortune to the world, whether that is in money or time or talent. So those are all good things, and definitely read that section of this book. Part 2 of the book and part 3 of the book are focused on those principles and how to be a good leader, even if a company hasn't like dubbed it on your business card, you can still be a leader. However, early on in the book, he tells a story how a CEO has a project that he needs someone to be a leader for. And there's this guy who's like, he's a pretty good, like, individual contributor level leader. And he is pretty close to being ready to have it, you know, dubbed on his business card that he can be a leader. And so when CEO asks the dude, hey, will you lead this project? And the dude says, does it come with a promotion? Or if I do well on this project, will I be promoted to a, you know, dubbed, sanctioned leader? The CEO is taken aback. So insulted. How dare this person even like bring that up? Is he only in this for the money? For the title? For the fame? At his job? So then he goes and he asks a female employee, hey, would you like to lead this up? And the female employee says, yeah, sure, I'd love to. And does not ask for a title or raise or thanks. And now, I've not noticed this in any of like the rest of this book or in Fred Factor, or I've watched different videos of this author giving motivational speeches. I've not noticed any evidence of issues with the male-female dynamic in the workplace. maybe I haven't been paying attention or didn't see the right thing. If you know of something, let me know. But this one really struck a chord with me, especially for where I am in my work life space. I'm getting to, or close to, a point that it would be nice to have some of my peer-to-peer leadership recognized with something officially sanctioned by the company saying, hey, you've been doing a great job and we noticed. Here's your reward. I've talked with my leadership, and reward can mean a lot of different things, and we'll talk about that sometime soon in the future. It's not always a title, it's not always more money, it depends on, anyway. So, as a woman, as someone of the female persuasion, growing up, a lot of times I felt pressured not to ask for things that I thought that I deserved, because feeling like I deserved something was seen as kind of a negative trait, that prideful or lacking humility. And so, when you deserve something, it'll be given to you. If you ask for it, they're like, you're being kind of needy, which was kind of hard to unlearn. In the real world, that's part of why, or one of the factors they claim for why the wage gap exists, is because men are taught it's okay to ask for what you think that you deserve, whereas women should be happy with what they're given. So when it comes to salary negotiations, dudes are a lot more likely to negotiate for a higher salary, whereas I should just be grateful to have a seat at the table. Now, there's not anyone in particular that I can remember telling me these things. It's just what I've picked up, what I've internalized from living in society, from watching TV shows and movies and reading books, that a lady doesn't make demands. A lady is just grateful. Better to be seen and not heard, kind of things, And now, I don't think that this is what Mark Sanborn was going for. I think that he just was like, oh, for equality, I should have a dude in the story and I should have a lady in the story, and flip a coin, and as far as who it is. So I don't blame the author for this at all, but it was distracting for me, and it was a little bit off-putting, and it kind of messed with my frame of mind as I was reading the rest of his book. The rest of his book was really good and had a lot of great points. For the rest of the book wasn't you shouldn't ask for what you think that you deserve. It was, hey, if you're in that middle ground where you're early in your career, you can start showing the leadership traits now that will aid you when you become a leader in the future. It was just the way the book started out that made me think he was going to go down the road of anybody can be a leader no matter what rank you are, and you should do it for the love of leading and the love of people, and not because it is a career goal for you. And as someone who it is a career goal to become a people leader, like a dubbed, sanctioned supervisor, manager, etc., I know it's not going to happen if I'm just sitting there waiting for someone to make me a supervisor. At the very least, I'm going to have to apply for the job, And that's kind of asking for it. I guess my point is, both of these books had good content, had good stuff in them. But for me personally, either a lot of it I already knew, like in The Art of Less Doing, or didn't apply to me because it didn't line up with my goals, or in the you don't need a title to be a leader, parts of it were really targeted at people who were earlier on in their journey than where I am. So as I'm reading these, I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm going to take the nuggets that I found to be useful, and some of them didn't directly apply to me, but I might suggest to other people who are at different places in their journey who could benefit from these stories, even though they weren't for me, you know? Alright, I've rambled on long enough. Hopefully I'm able to make some coherent thoughts. If you saw my last video and you were real confused because it was a read with me, I love watching read with me's or study with me's while I'm reading or studying or doing some mindless task. Just having a little bit of background noise helps to keep me focused, and also means that whatever screen I'm watching it on is not being used as a distraction. If my TV isn't taken up by a read with me, it might be being used to watch, you know, YouTube videos that I would actually be paying attention to. So if it's not for you, don't worry. I will do lots of videos like this where we're chatting, but I will also do some more read with me's in the future because I really enjoy that content. It's also kind of fun to make. A little bit nerve-wracking because several of my neighbors did walk by, and other than that, have a good night, sweet dreams, and I'll see you hopefully next week with longer hair if I get around to editing that video.